Welcome everybody. This is Monday morning, and you are joining the Esteban Hours Week in Review. I'm your host, Esteban, and if you woke up today, then today is a great day. How was your weekend? And how will your week be? Well, on today's show, the hot topics that we have for you is we have a MAGA supporter who has threatened the president amongst the president, one of the judges in one of the Trump cases. We're going to discuss that and how serious that is. Then we have a sad story, shop owner by the name of Lori Colton. She was sadly killed for hanging a pride flag in front of her store. Yeah. Then we have, we're going to talk a little bit about actor Kevin Sorbo. He is on the hot topic list today. What about Tennessee? They're back in the news media. What are they in the news media for this time? Well, seems to be they don't like protesters at all. We'll talk about that. And Trump, yeah, Trump is back. Well, but this time, he is holding a fundraiser for Rudolph Giuliani, and yeah, we'll get into that. Then we also have we're going to talk about the debate and give our opinionated talk on how the Republican debate that was held this week on Fox News, or I should say last week, went. We'll discuss that. Excuse me. Then we're going to discuss the Russian mercenary leader who was, I'd like to say, murdered on a plane in Russia. We're going to talk about do we know who and do we know why? What about Jim Jordan? He's back in the news source as well. What is he doing this time? And why is it relevant? Or is it relevant? We don't know. But first, before we get started, let's bring in our co-host of the Esteban Hours Week in Review, author, activist, Mr. Jeremy Baker. Hey, Jeremy.
Hey, what's going on? How was your weekend?
My weekend was full. A lot has gone on this weekend, as you know, right?
Yeah, on and off the political spectrum. It's been a rough week.
And last week was a lot, right? A lot of news, both like you said, in the political arena and off the political arena. A lot of news, and then it ended the week with sadness.
It did. It's just a lot of hate, a lot of misguided people in this country are acting out, and it's depressing to see all the needless violence.
Definitely depressing. Definitely. And that's an understatement, by the way. Yeah. All right. Without any further ado, let's bring in our co-creator, contributor, and producer, Mr. Mike Foligno.
Hello.
Hey, Mike.
How are you guys doing?
We're doing well. How are you? How was your weekend?
Not too terrible. I actually got some things accomplished. I procrastinated on most of the other things, but ready to talk about what's going on this past week.
That makes you normal.
Oh,
I was trying to take a weekend off, but Esteban's got me burning the candle on both ends, making all these damn videos.
Listen, it's just me. People want to go terrorizing everybody, and lies and conspiracies keep going around. That just makes our job continuously heavy.
Yep.
Good thing I love what I do, so I actually enjoy it, so it's not bad.
Let's get started. Topic number one is this MAGA lady who's been threatening judges. Crazy, but let's roll this tape before we get into it.
Was arrested and charged with threatening a federal judge who was overseeing Donald Trump's election case in Washington, D.C. Authorities had already increased security around U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan after the former president demanded her recusal last week. Prosecutors say the 43-year-old defendant left a threatening voicemail message for Chutkan saying, quote, "If Trump doesn't get elected in 2024, we are coming to kill you."
If Trump does not get elected in 2024, we are coming to kill you. I don't know where do we go with that? That is I don't even I don't know. I don't know what goes on in these people's minds that do these type of things, that issue these terroristic threats. What goes on in their minds? What do you think?
I don't know how they think they're going to get away with this kind of stuff. I mean, you can't make threats against somebody's life like that and just think, oh, yeah, I got her. Oh, publicly. Now she's scared. I mean, come on.
Publicly.
That's what they think.
I think you asked a great question. Do they think they're going to get away with it? Well, I mean, who are they trying to model themselves after, first of all? Captain get away with it. I mean, this might be the summer of FAFO, but so far their leader and cult leader has gotten away with saying whatever he wanted. I mean, this person didn't just have these thoughts on their own. You know, Esteban, you said what's in their head. What's in their head is targeted stochastic terrorism that's been going on for years to generate a fanatic base that will do whatever it can to support the man that has been trying to take over this country since he lost an election. And that's what you're seeing, these people taking actions on his will. That's literally the Manson effect. And that's what we're seeing.
Right. And this is one of the judges of one of Trump's cases, I believe, in Washington, D.C. Yep. And she was directly threatened by this deranged young woman. But what I'm not understanding is that years and years of Trump provoking this type of behavior, but he has not come to anybody's aid or defense at all. So why are people continuously putting themselves in jeopardy or in harm's way of getting into trouble for Trump? Because, you know, in my opinion, if there were no Trump, there would be no lady threatening any judge or anybody for that matter.
She might be looking to follow the will of someone else. I mean, these are people that are, I am not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not anyone in the field that understands the clinical diagnoses that these people may suffer from. But if you just look in their actions, these are people that want to belong to something or have something missing in themselves, that they attach their will, their very existence to someone that it's going to use them, because those people are so good at pulling off the P.T. Barnum situation. They're good at selling you a bill of goods, what you want to hear. It tells you that you're a true patriot. You can make a difference. You know, your world is going to be better, but it's terrible now because of these people. So do what I say. Do what I say. I'll help you. I love you.
Right.
I mean,
her name is Abigail Jo Shree of Alvin, Texas. And she's the one that allegedly made threats to the U.S. District Court Judge Tanya Chutkan. Do we hear anything coming from the Texas governor?
No, we don't
Other
hear
than
anything
words
about
of support.
it.
Are we surprised?
No, remember we just did a story on a guy that got for making threats against the president. That old guy that got shot,
right?
That had a
And we didn't hear anything about that either.
Right? They don't condemn that at all. You know what I mean? They'll have meetings in Congress about goddamn gas stoves, but they won't have a meeting about gun safety in this country. It's freaking embarrassing. Like, we're literally looking like a joke to the rest of the world right now, and it's upsetting.
How many times do we hear folks on the right talk about how the Biden administration and the DOJ are weaponizing themselves against the right? But look at situations like this lady threatening a judge. So now if they go after this lady, is that weaponizing?
Well, it's funny
that's actually what it's designed for.
Well,
that's what I thought.
That's like their whole purpose, really.
Law and order.
The right is actually weaponizing people. That's what stochastic terrorism is. That's why a gag order, for example, is so important for Donald Trump, and why in Georgia, the judge in Georgia specifically called out that he cannot attack people on social media or even repost attacks of people on social media. This person, and I hesitate to call him a person, but this person is the biggest threat to our country because he has the ear, the will, and the guns of so many people willing to throw their lives away for his false promises. A gag order is necessary to prevent this, because if someone is willing to threaten a judge that openly, then they're willing to go down to the courthouse and meet them one-on-one, and that's terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. I mean, look what she said. She said, "You are in our sight. We want to kill you." What?
It's not a veiled threat. It's a threat. You can't yell fire in a theater. You can't yell, "I'm going to kill you, judge," on social media or anywhere. Free speech is free until you're using it to harm people. And that's what this is. And they're going to find out real quick that threats aren't free speech.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
FAFO, man. F around to find out.
Excuse me. I've got to ask, where are the leaders on the right that are, that should be denouncing this type of behavior? Where are they? Where are they? Is this something that is okay to them? Is this something that they consider law and order, because they say they are the party of law and order, which we already know they're far from that. But is this considered, if they are the party of law and order, is this considered part of law and order?
They don't like the consequences of the law and order. They only like law and order when it works for them. And then if it works against them, then they try and change the law in order to make it work for them. And they want to talk about, they're trying to raise voting ages. They're literally doing everything they can to interfere with the 2024 election. Mm-hmm. They would rather just take all these voters out of the equation. How is that not election interference? Just talking about that. It should be election interference.
It's mind-boggling to me, because they're doing all of these things, but then turn around and play dumb as to why people don't like them, or why Americans don't want to vote for them. You have a person such as Trump who's allegedly guilty of almost everything, being a rapist, sexual assault, conspiracy, insurrection, bribery. But you said nothing about that, which tells me you're in cahoots with that. That's okay to you. But then turn around and talk about President Biden tripping and falling on stage, or he did a gap and forgot his lines. What the hell?
Nothing makes sense anymore, man.
I think it's because they've decided that their version of law and order is actually fascism and domination. Not even control. Mm-hmm. They want to dominate the mindset of everyone so that their narrative can be accepted as true. And when you see extremism on their side, that's righteous anger, right? But when you call it out from the left, that's weaponization. When you actually hold people accountable to the laws that this country has set down to hold people like this to a standard that prevents it in the future. If you don't call that out, you're not holding anyone to a standard. You're just letting them get away with it. So to your point, we don't need the Democrats to condemn this, so that would be great. But we need whatever is left of these so-called true Republicans, the old school Republicans, whichever are not the extreme mess that we have now. If there's even one of them, you take a Mitch McConnell, if he even knows what's going on right now, he's someone that should be stepping up and saying this extremism will not stand. There are people, Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney has always tried to hold himself as a statesman, as something true and honest. And yet I don't see him coming out, put out a 5-second video saying, no, we won't stand for this. They won't do it.
With all fairness, a lot of them, especially the ones that you just mentioned, they have been trying to speak out, right? They have been trying to, not defend the indefensive. They have, but we need more. of that.
Mhm.
We need unity between the right and the left on the same thing. Speaking out against the same thing, don't we? Go ahead, Jeremy.
The one thing I think that is going to become more and more prevalent, and we haven't talked about it really on the show yet, is the fact that there's so many people pushing for disqualifying him under the 14th Amendment to be even be eligible to run for president. So not only does he have legal problems, he has scholars and legal people that are, originalist and Federalist Society people saying that he doesn't qualify to be president regardless. And there doesn't even have to be a lawsuit to do it, but somebody has recently filed a lawsuit to disqualify him as to even be a candidate for president.
I read that. I recently read that, and when I read that, I said to myself, but do I think that that's the best way to go for 2024? Because right now, nobody wants Trump to be president. The majority of Americans are against Trump. So if you actually remove him out of the equation because of his criminal activity in his indictments, that means that they're forced to put someone else in his place. Will that then make up some independent minds or Republicans' minds to now vote for that person?
I don't think Maga can survive without the cult leader. And that's typical with cults, like that the leader is the center point, the focus of the whole group. And I don't think when he goes to jail, unless they're going to try everything they can to botch these freaking cases. I mean, they really are. You can see that we'll talk about it later with Jim Jordan and everything like that, sticking his nose where it doesn't belong. They're trying everything they can to railroad these cases in benefit of Trump.
Are you saying that if Trump was not to run, then the MAGA supporters would not vote or get involved or vote for someone else?
No, I think that they would support whoever he tells them to support. So if he's eligible to be president, he's going to say, all right, well, we're going to support him. That's my guy.
I don't think he's going to do that. There is no way that man's fragile, tiny, thin little ego would ever allow him to acknowledge that he can't run, but that's another thing. But to even let his supporters vote for someone else would be an admission of failure on his part. But the problem is that I think to your point, Jeremy, I mean, I don't know that anyone would vote for anyone but him as far as a MAGA goes, but I'll tell you right now, he's already looking pretty poor for any general election. But what scares me is the more they push the constitutional argument, which, while valid, that might be enough to enrage his base to do some really despicable things, to commit some really heinous acts if they think they're going to go that way.
I was just going to say with your response, Mike, that he may not instruct them to vote for somebody else, but instead, in the middle of an election, he might instruct for civil war.
He would do it. He has no qualms about destroying this country to save his own hide.
Right.
He will do whatever it takes. He is
as long as he's not president. Yes.
Exactly. And if he is, he's just going to do whatever he wants with impunity. But if he sees the writing on the wall, he will go nuclear. He will do it, and he will activate his followers. That's it.
So how
do we end up talking about him again?
Huh?
I said, damn it, we weren't supposed to talk about Trump today, and how the hell we end up talking about him? He's like,
somehow he gets tied into the story. But listen,
fine.
As real Americans, okay, us three, what do you think should happen to this young lady who threatened the judge, as well as any others who have been, and will do the same thing that she's done? What should happen to her?
I think whatever the state. I don't know what she's being charged with exactly yet. I mean, I should have looked at that, but yeah, she has to go to jail for doing something like that. I mean, there's got to be consequences. You can't just
you thumb through the law book. You see which ones apply. You charge her. Right? You get the indictment going. A grand jury says this person committed this crime, and then you try them. Because that's what happens to criminals in America.
Thank you, Mike.
Right.
And that was the point that I wanted to bring out. I wanted to bring out that, there's got to be some kind of consequence for something like that, because that is not law and order, is it? That is totally the opposite. So if it's the opposite of law and order, there should be some kind of consequences. So just in case, if anyone from the right wants to gaslight and says that they're coming after them and their supporters again, no. She threatened a sitting judge. She said, I want to kill you. That is wrong. That is illegal. And there should be consequences for that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Moving on. Topic 2. Sad topic. California shop owner killed over a pride flag that she was adamant she would not take down. So this young lady, apparently, she's from California, Los Angeles, California. She refused to remove the LGBTQ plus rainbow pride flag. Do we have a clip for that?
Yep, of course.
Let's play that before I
tonight outside a Cedar Glen shop one day after its owner was shot and killed. 66-year-old Lori Carlton owned Magpie Boutique. Detectives say her killer made several disparaging remarks about a pride flag on display at the store before shooting her. San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputies arrived and confronted the shooter and wound up shooting and killing him. Carlton is survived by her husband and 9 children. County Supervisor Don Rowe posted a message to social media today calling this a senseless act of hate and violence, saying everyone deserves to live free of hate and discrimination.
That's right. That's right. And she lost her life.
9 kids.
9 kids. And so 9 kids who do not have their mother for defending the LGBTQ plus community. It's very, very sad. It's said that she owned a clothing and home decor shop in Cedar Glen, which is a mountain community east of Los Angeles. Her longtime friend said she was adamant that she was not taking that flag down, and she was a huge supporter of the community. And she lost her life over it. Did the person that killed her was he arrested? Was he?
No, he was killed in a shootout.
They shot him. Yeah, he's dead.
Lucky him.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah. Well, we give the Esteban hour. We extend our condolences to the family.
Absolutely.
And we hope that they can find some way of healing as we go forward. But this is just a sad story. And again, I employ, where are those on the right to denounce and speak up against this kind of behavior that is so against law and order?
I just said, it's funny you said that. I said, just as you were saying it, I was like, it's from the right. I just noticed there's a pattern forming here.
Yeah,
all this seems to be coming from the
sure.
right.
Yes.
Odd, isn't it? Not a coincidence.
Yes,
not a conspiracy.
Yes.
The violence and the hate is coming from the right. From
just like the woman that we just spoke about that threatened the judge. They're listening. They're doing these things because they're listening to their friends and their party members. So just like they're listening to them, if the leaders of the Republican Party would speak up and say, this is not right, you cannot do this, just to try to defend your own opinions, I think that would sway them away from doing these things, even if it's just one person. But the Republicans refuse to do that.
I mean, you're right. They don't say shit about this stuff. If President Biden farted while giving a speech, they'd have a freaking heart attack. They went nuts when he drank out of a dark Brandon mug. He didn't even have to say a word. Right. Sip, put the cup down. They went, oh my God, he's unfit to be president.
Look, they're
they don't say a damn word when the stuff like this happens.
It's because they're extremely easily triggered, right? They're the people that complain about everyone else getting triggered when they act like racists and bigots and misogynists. Mm-hmm. And they go, oh, you get offended if I don't use your pronouns correctly. But they're the ones that get triggered. This guy in particular, he was 27 years old. He was absolutely self-professed anti-LGBTQ pro-life Christian, and this is a person who, if I got the story right, had actually gone to this shop before and ripped down a flag.
Yes.
The owner actually had a new replacement flag on order when this murderer came and killed her for her allyship, which I think is the most important thing of this particular story, because we could give all the airtime and to why these people are extreme and what caused them to get this way, why no one on the right is trying to stop them. But I think what's important is to understand and acknowledge that this violence against the LGBTQ plus community, just the same with any other community, extends to the allies. You know, we saw this in Black Lives Matter protests. We saw white people getting beat up along with their brothers and sisters that were just trying to fight for their rights. We have this person who actually said on his social media, and I quote, "We need to stop compromising on LGBTQ dictatorship and not let them take over our lives. Stop accepting this abomination that the government is forcing us to submit to, these mentally disordered tyrants." Okay, well, you know what? She wasn't one of them. She wasn't one of them at all. She was someone who just wanted to show her support, to let people know that her store was a safe space where you wouldn't get harassed, where you wouldn't get beat up or have any problems just because of who you are. And what happened? This horrible monster decided to kill her for showing support to a community she was not part of, but just wanted to express her love to. And I think that's where we are now, where you're going to start being afraid. People are going to be afraid to express their support. That's why Pride Month and Pride parades are so important, to show the allyship for this community.
But isn't it true that this is just another example of what those on the right are trying to overwhelm the rest of the nation with? Because it started with, or I don't know if it started with, but one of the big things was last year with the loss of Roe versus Wade, women's rights, and they used the same thing, that we're tired of other people trying to overwhelm us and bother us. What are they doing to you? A woman who wants to have an abortion, how the hell does that have to do with you? A person who decides that they want to be gay or trans, how does that affect you? A woman who wants to defend the gay community, how does that interpret anything on someone else's life? I don't understand.
Exactly.
They believe that people living in a way that isn't according to their little fascist box is somehow offending them. They don't understand, because maybe it's just a part of their belief system, maybe it's a part of who they are, that they have to put their beliefs on others. They truly believe it, that they're supposed to spread their message. So they look at it going, wow, if you're doing that, you're trying to spread your message onto me. Well, that's not the case. These people are just trying to live their lives and not have to worry about you expressing your hate onto them. That's it. That's all it is.
With 350 million Americans and what, 2-3 billion people worldwide, how the hell are you going to get all of us, everybody, to just think in one way or one form or one fashion? You've got multiple religions, multiple nationalities, multiple cultures, race, colors. How are you going to, unless you want everybody to be robots, basically? Other than that, how in the hell are you going to get people who are different in every way to conform to just one religion, one way of thinking? It's impossible.
It's this trend of white nationalism that's spreading through this country almost unchecked, like a virus.
It's the white Christian nationalist
party. We're going to see more of it.
I hate to, you know, point out any specific religion, but unfortunately, these people are self-professed. And if they're going to do that, we can't hold everyone who considers themselves Christian accountable for this, because that's not fair. That's not what we do on the left. We don't hold everyone accountable for something that one person does. But this is a trend. These people don't want a national audience. They just want America to have a wall around it and it be gleaming white cathedral where everyone speaks English. There's no taco trucks on any corner, and everyone is just, all the women are barefoot and pregnant. There's no gay people. This is what they want. They want to turn America into a white Christian nationalist hellhole, and it's a shame that they have a voice to do that.
Guess what? They're never going to get what they want, and so either we're going to be fighting, or they may be civil war, or all of them are going to end up in jail. But they're never going to get what they want, because they are not the majority in this. They are the minority.
Bingo.
And the majority will fight their way through, as they have been doing for the last year, 2 years, since Roe versus Wade has been overturned. Okay, let's move on to topic 3. After Kevin Sorbo, as you put it, Jeremy, he's a little weird. Would you like to explain yourself?
No, yeah, come on. He's a 90s TV actor, man. He's not like, he just acts like, oh, they banned me because I'm Christian and blah blah blah, and I was posting.
He's been whining. He's been whining that no one wants to use.
Because you're a shit actor.
But have you actually read any of his comments? I didn't have the moment to share them with the audience, but his comments are a little extreme. They're not I don't want to say normal, but they're biased, right? His comments. And so how could you fault Hollywood, who's leans towards the left a lot, for not being in cahoots or in coordination with his comments? Stop making the comments then.
Let me play this video here, because I like the part where he says, I got banned from Facebook for telling the truth. I'm sure that's the reason.
Explain to me and our viewers how you were cancelled over your faith. How did it happen?
Well, I think I was the original cancel culture victim 12 years ago in Hollywood. My manager and agent both told me that they couldn't work with me anymore because the things I was posting on the internet. I mean, Facebook took me down 2.5 years ago because I was posting the truth. They don't like the truth. And they told me because of my conservative values, my Christian values, that I was not somebody that people wanted to work with, which I found kind of interesting. So I guess that's if you're a Christian and conservative in Hollywood, that's like being a double leper. So apparently I'm kryptonite to the Hollywood elite.
Double leper. What does that mean?
Kryptonite to the Hollywood elite.
Oh,
God. You know what I mean?
And it's a double standard, isn't it? So he's whining because they took him down for his Christian values and opinions. But at the same time, those same Christians want to take down everyone else for their values.
Right. It's just such hypocrisy, man. And I'm sure he did not get taken off of Facebook for telling the truth, because
look, they did not say
pretty messed up stuff.
True.
They did not say to him that they're taking him down because of his faith, because of they didn't do that. They just didn't do that.
Hollywood didn't either. I mean, they've worked with, if Jim Caviezel could make a movie, and that guy's QAnon bonkers, out of his mind, woohoo! If he can make a movie, then there's no reason that I think it's just because he's a shit actor.
He's Q-list actor at best.
He was Hercules in the 90s on a 90s TV show. For those of you who don't know, it was just like you said earlier. It was for the housewives that are at home watching television. A big shirtless guy all oiled up. You know, that's all it was.
That's what it was.
It was bad acting. It was popular as hell. And I think that made him think that he was a better actor than he really was. But no,
I was just going to say, my sisters watched it. It was on Saturday, right?
Yeah, I grew up watching it because I was a kid, and it was stupid.
And then the guys, we had Xena, Warrior Princess. That was the one for the guys. Big old Amazon woman running around with a sword oiled up. That was the guy version. Yeah. It was Hercules. That's
what Sorbo sounds like now. That's what he sounds like when he's just spouting off, because let's face it, this is classic victim mentality. Okay, no one canceled him because of his Christian faith, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to try and prove it. If he was ever talking and espousing his Christian faith about love, about acceptance, about helping the poor, about feeding the homeless, if he was doing any of that, religious or not, people would be like, sure, I don't care if it's religious based or not, but those are good messages, go out and say them. But what he's not doing is being any type of human being and nice person. What he's doing, he's not being a Christian to their own definition of the word. What he's doing is he's being a bigot. He's being a hateful person. He's trying to, you know, make it sound like taking rights away from people is a good thing.
Right. And then calling that his Christian values.
Of course, if that and that's the point. If that's what he identifies as his Christian values, then we should definitely be canceling him. But if he was just going out there and he was saying how much we should love each other, I would be on board with promoting his videos, as awful as an actor as he is.
Thank you.
Right. Same here. Yeah. No, it's true. It's absolutely true. Okay.
You know, they are the ones that used to bitch about cancel culture so much, and then when it happens to them, God, they cry like little babies, man.
Hypocrisy.
That's just pathetic.
Hypocrisy. That's it. All right, guys.
All right.
Tennessee. The great state of Tennessee back in it. What's going on in their legislation? What is going on? So we have do we have a clip over it, by the way?
Yeah, this is the people. I can't believe this even happened. Escorted out by state troopers because they were holding a sign in silence.
Blocked more than 50 bills without any debate during one meeting, giving this explanation.
Well, we didn't have time to really look into every one of these bills. They were very complicated.
In other committees, members of the public battled over the new rules.
I still see some signs.
2 people were thrown out of the room for holding signs that said one kid is greater than all the guns. Later in the meeting, the remaining crowd clapped when a bill allowing guns in schools was voted down.
Are we going to quiet down and listen, or are we going to sit there and clap? All right, troopers, let's go ahead and clear the room.
Kicking out everyone. After that incident, people started getting creative, keeping signs in their laps and only holding them up during short recesses for members to get legal advice, making sure their voices are heard, even if they say a piece of paper is now more regulated than a gun.
Ooh, that's spot in that video.
That is absolutely powerful.
I felt bad. That woman was upset, visibly upset. Like there's other videos of her getting escorted out with the sign, and she was so upset she was shaking. I mean, yeah, that poor woman, she was so pissed, and that's literally all they were doing. They were sitting there holding signs that said kids are more important than guns. That's I don't even understand why they were escorted out. That is literally the definition of peaceful protest.
Because it's not fitting in more peacefully. It wasn't fitting in with those with that legislative body's intent or message that they wanted to get out at that moment. It was clashing with their own message, and that's what's sad. But let's not forget, this is the state where just recently they went through a shooting event, right? There, and there were many families that were at that meeting. And that broke down crying, sobbing in tears when the state troopers ordered them to leave. They really, one of them. They really feel that their own legislative body does not care about them or their families or their children. To the point of seeing their politicians of their their local politicians go to the extent of not trying to do something about guns, but instead do something about them, including kicking off those 2 representatives for them standing up for what they believe in. These local leaders try to cancel them as well. What's happening?
Did you see the disdain on that councilman's face when he was mentioning, are you guys quiet? Did you guys have enough of your little protest, of your little voicing your concern that we're about to pass a bill that was too complicated to read, by the way, that's going to allow guns to be pretty much everywhere, in schools, on the street, because good guys with guns are always saving the day. And these mothers, some of them, like you said, with dead children due to gun violence. Some people just part of the community realized that maybe guns aren't as important as children, and they were told to be escorted out by the troopers, right? This is a sign of things to come. Troopers, remove them. Troopers, I don't like what they're saying. Troopers,
he was upset that they didn't bow down to his honor, to his majesty. They did not say, yes, your majesty, we will be quiet. Yes, your majesty, we will sit down. And instead, they got even louder. So he decided to sick the dogs on them, which was the police and the sheriff department, which is sad. And again, these are the same people that call for law and order and constitutional rights. So where were these folks' constitutional rights at that very moment?
They were violated. They were violated. Freedom of speech, freedom of assembly.
You got to look at the mentality of these people, right? The First Amendment guarantees free speech, amongst other things. The Second Amendment, apparently, according to them, provides guns for everyone. And if you really understand how things work, 2 is bigger than 1, so 2 is more important than 1. That's how their brains work. At least that's how it seems, because there's no logic in picking which amendment they want to back more, which one they think is more important. And it's obvious. They're telling them on themselves. These people weren't having raucous chanting protests. Maybe they cheered when a garbage law was voted down, but they were sitting there with signs. They weren't screaming. They weren't, throwing glitter bombs or paint bombs or doing anything disruptive. They were sitting there with signs. And these, I don't even know what to call them, these people on that council just looked at them with disdain because they were silently voicing opposition to these gun laws.
I will say it is great to see a southern state fight back. I'm loving that. Kudos to Tennesseans. I love the state of Tennessee, and I hope that we see more of that, not only in Tennessee, but also in other southern states as well, of people fighting back, of not that they, of them feeling that their own local leaders do not care about everybody, that they only care about their own selfish desires and wantings. And this is a state that has millions of people who all think differently. And I think that what the people are doing is they're finally coming together and realizing this might be a red state, but there are blue people here. Whether it's red or blue, the gun situation is getting out of hand. And if the reds are not going to do anything about it, then the blues are going to take control.
Yeah, like Mike said, I'm just tired of the Republicans making the Second Amendment the most important amendment.
Yeah,
it's like their entire focus: guns, violence, violence.
While they ignore every other amendment, right?
Everyone,
right? Unless they need it to benefit them, then they talk about that amendment. Like the first, my First Amendment's being violated. Nah, other than that, you don't hear shit about it. And as soon as you talk about gun regulations, they're like, my Second Amendment rights, blah blah blah. Like, I'm tired.
All right.
Of it. Anyway,
let's move on to the next topic. We've got Trump is back in regards to Giuliani. So he has released a statement this week stating that next month in September 2023, he will be holding, I guess, one or more fundraisers for Rudolph Giuliani at $100,000 a pop. $100,000.
You guys got your tickets yet?
Oh yeah.
I would love to be a fly on the wall in this place.
I would never be given $100,000 of my hard-earned money for any of them. But I want to pose a question to both of y'all because we need to go through this really quickly and get to the next topic. So, have you not realized that this billionaire who has all this money in the world has refused to pay Rudolph Giuliani what he's rightfully owed, even though the work that he did was conspiracies and lies and all of that. But he worked for him. He has not been paid by Donald Trump. Trump refuses to pay him. On top of that, Trump refuses to even spend not $1 out of his own money. And Trump refuses to spend not even $1 out of the money he's grifted from other Americans, poor souls that are given their hard-earned money. But instead, he is being such a great guy by holding this fundraiser for Giuliani, so other people can give Giuliani their money for his legal bills. Is that not sad?
Oh, that is sad. Wait, before we go, let me make sure. Here's a good picture to reference. I had to put it in there.
It actually seems fitting because he is the Joker, and so this is a joke.
Giuliani's the Penguin. It's perfect.
That's perfect. That is so perfect.
Right. I had to do it.
I just want to know
whoever created that. I'm sorry, I had to yank that and use it, but that is just perfect. Thank you very much.
I just want to know one thing. How much McDonald's does $100,000 per plate buy? Because if he's showing up, it's got to be Mickey D's. He's going to phone that in. He's not even going to show up to that.
No, I don't even think the thing's going to take place, to be honest with you. I'll be surprised if it even materializes. Anyway,
go ahead.
I don't feel
from
bad
the guy that has a hacked donation website. Yeah, let's give another $100,000 so that it goes to the other.
Yeah, they finally fixed it. And Donald Trump has apparently made. Sorry, the last thing I'll say is he apparently made $7 million off of his fucking his stupid mugshot on True Social. He's apparently made like $7 million since the indictment, selling crack,
and will not give not one penny of that to help someone else who helped him. I can't. I can't. Moving on.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Gives you a headache, doesn't it?
What did you guys think about the Republican debate? Let's start with
God. Is that a serious question? No. I say that not in jest because it wasn't a serious debate. That's really what we got to understand here. Donald Trump said he wasn't going to go. That's great. So now that leaves the rest of the Republican field. I don't know what they thought they were going to do in a debate because there's no one that's a Republican that's going to vote for any of them. I mean, let's face it, some of them might, but they're not going to get the nomination. They're not going to be actually on the general election to be elected president. But yet they spent the whole time talking about only a couple of ridiculous issues. They were talking about how climate change isn't real and how they're all going to ban abortion and how they're all going to support Trump if he's convicted. This was basically a cheerleading session for the elephant that wasn't in the room. And there was really no point to this. Who was watching it? Maga wasn't watching it. So who's gonna benefit from this debate? Because they sure didn't. Every one of them looked a fool every time they opened their mouth.
They banned the MAGA people. They banned Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz. They wouldn't let them in.
And Don Jr. and Kimberly.
Yeah.
Well, what's great about that is they knew in advance that they would not be allowed to be part of the post-debate discussion because they were there, obviously, as Trump surrogates, right? Well, if your guy isn't there, you can't go in and inject his platform into a debate that just happened when he wasn't there. So they were never getting in. And then what are they crying
about? Why couldn't they? Because they were whining about that. So
yeah.
What about that? Don't you understand? Your boy is not here. Get out. Yeah. Goodbye.
But their base loved it.
Your boy wherever he's at. He's sitting in front of Tucker Carlson. Sit right behind him.
But the base ate it.
Disaster and a half.
Because the base now thinks that yet again, right? The corporate media is trying to stifle their free speech. Your clown wasn't even invited, so the little clowns are not invited either.
You know what's funny though? As everybody's joking around saying Trump won the debate.
Yeah.
Think about it. Like, what did anybody on the stage? Here, I'll show you a highlight reel real quick.
There it is.
And then you guys tell me nobody got any progress or talked about anything important.
Line is not inevitable. It's a choice.
Maybe a little bit.
We need to send Joe Biden back to his basement and reverse American decline.
Joe Biden has weakened this country at home and abroad. Now is not the time for on-the-job training. We don't need to bring in a rookie. We don't need to bring in people without experience.
Let us be honest as Republicans. I'm the only person on the stage who isn't bought and paid for, so I can say this. The climate change agenda is a hoax.
I've had enough already tonight of a guy.
Did you just say, let's be honest? climate change is a hook. Oh my God! I'm getting ahead of you.
Sounds like ChatGPT standing up here.
I am unapologetically pro-life, not because the Republican Party tells me to
This
be,
makes no sense.
but because my husband was adopted and I had trouble having both of my children. So I'm surrounded by blessings.
If former President Trump is convicted
Again, like you
in a
guys
court
said,
of law,
imposing their will
would
on
you
other people.
still support him as your party's choice? Please raise your hand if you would.
Watch the sample.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I love DeSantis at the end. He's like, "Oh,
the guy is a malfunctioning
such
robot."
A punk, man. That dude is such
And
a
that's
punk.
Florida's governor. Smart man. Well, so I agree with you guys. There wasn't really anything special with this debate, but I will say, in the arena of freedom of speech and getting your opinion out there, I did think that everyone did a good job. I also felt that with Trump not being there, they were able to, go at it a little bit more with each other. Okay, because if Trump was there, he would have sucked out all the air from the room, and no one who was really trying to tune in to see where each of these candidates stand. They wouldn't have been able to get their point of view in there as they tried to do without Trump. I thought it was decent, and I feel that more people watched the debate than they did the Tucker Carlson interview.
Absolutely,
and so that blew up in Trump's face. Yeah, and according to Donald Trump, there are good people on both sides.
It was the best interview ever in the history of interviews. Dude, the duck flap thing.
I just think it's gross that in this debate, you're right, Esteban, that, people tune in, whoever did tune in was trying to see what they got to say. And they barely said anything that would be shocking, right? Everyone knows what the stance of every one of these people is because what a Republican stands for. But the fact that still they showed fealty, submission, and deference to the guy that wasn't there, the guy that's indicted, he'll probably be indicted again, the guy that is probably going to be the nominee. I don't understand how these people consider themselves legitimate candidates when they're literally campaigning for the other guy. But it's just
last question. Who do you think won the debate?
I don't know.
Chris Christie.
Nikki Haley had a couple good moments. Chris Christie, I thought he was really defensive. I thought he would do more on the offense because that's kind of his thing. Nikki Haley had a couple good points actually, but I mean, I think they're all full of shit, to be honest with you. They're all corporate sponsored,
who came out with the least amount of shit on their face.
And we'll leave it okay, let's move on, guys. So
all right.
DNA test confirms that Prigozhin, because I can't even pronounce his first name, was definitely aboard that jet that crashed. Do we take Russia's word for it or not? I think we do, because it's also going around that he was assassinated. And if he was assassinated, guess who? This time from a plane instead of a window. What do you guys think? Do you think that this was done deliberately, or was this a real mistake, a real accident?
Yeah, I think it's done. We talked about it before when this first happened. You and me, Esteban, the coup. We even said, I don't think this isn't over. Like, Putin's not going to let this go. So I think this was either, it had to be. It's just too suspicious and too But Prigozhin had his own plane, so it was like he just advertises where he went. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like he was being sneaky about it. He just hopped on the same exact plane every time. So
and he wasn't the only guy. It was him and I think his number 2. There was a couple of the Wagner leadership.
There was 10 people on board total.
That's right.
It's just fascinating. I am no expert in Russian politics, but I found it fascinating that he was marching his people to the edge of Putin's patio, where he was sitting there looking over all that he's done for his Russia. And then they just kind of arranged to not continue with the coup? Like, what did this guy think was going to happen to him? I understand he was not going to stand near any windows, but like, that's just a joke. I mean, Putin's been dealing with people since he was let's just say a Soviet person in a certain rank and expectation that he used to perform certain duties on that might or may not have had to do with taking enemies out. But what did you expect was going to happen? I don't know what this guy thought. He should have just got himself killed trying to take out Putin, because this was inevitable. On a plane, on a boat, it doesn't matter. It was going to happen. So I don't understand.
I think bottom line is that he's been dealing with the devil for years, right? Which is Putin. And finally, he went up against the devil and he lost.
Yep.
Well, he made Putin look bad. He made him look weak, and that was a no-no.
He did, but I was thinking about that too, Jeremy. So he made Putin look bad, right? But now Putin has turned around and allegedly did this, right? Does it make him look any better? Because in my opinion, it does not. In fact, it makes people even more angry to say to themselves, we need to take this guy out, because if we leave it up to him, he's going to kill us all.
Yeah.
It's the power of dictatorship. I mean, there's enough of his own people that fear him, right? He keeps the country in a complete economic freeze. There's no one that could really, succeed no matter how hard they work, And what does he do? He put all of his money, all the country's money, into the military, or so he thought. It was probably being funneled off to all the oligarchs, which is why his military is a joke right now. But you can't make Putin look worse. So who is he trying? Who does he care to even impress? His own people are either scared of him or getting sent off to Ukraine to die. I don't know what his end game is really my question. What does he think's going to happen?
What does he think is going to happen? Okay. Moving on to our last hot topic of the day. GOP's Jim Jordan launches a probe, an unnecessary probe, on Georgia prosecutor District Attorney Fani Willis. And he did this right before Trump was to surrender. He's demanding information and communications with the Department of Justice and federal officials on the funding that the office receives. Could you believe this? First of all, this is a congressman that is a congressman in Ohio. What in the hell does he have anything to do with Georgia, let alone a federal or state case that could be federal and is federal when it comes to Jack Smith? What is he doing there? Why is he doing that? And is this lawful? Is this legal for one state's congressman to try to bring up any kind of legal charges on a sitting elected DA of another state? It's not even Ohio.
Well, we know how the Republicans care about elected officials.
Yeah, he tried to do the same thing in New York when Alvin Bragg's case came about. Tried to stick his nose in there, and he saw how far that went. So I'm pretty sure
they put his middle finger up,
and that's what's going to happen again.
The guys, all right, listen, Jim Jordan's not a lawyer. He has been to law school, but he never passed the bar exam, so he's never been a licensed attorney. I doubt he keeps up on law if he doesn't study or practice law. No. So I'm sure he's not up on the new laws and everything knows how things work. And obviously, he doesn't understand that he doesn't have the power to interfere with state cases. But now the state of Georgia has GOP members, which we'll talk about in another episode, that are trying to throw a wrench in the thing too. I mean, these guys are really, really trying to derail this Georgia case. And Jim Jordan doesn't scare me. He can't. I think he's about powerless. I mean, when it comes to this case,
here's what he said.
I'm more worried about the Georgia GOP sticking their nose in the business.
Here's what he said. Miss Willis's indictment and prosecution implicates substantial federal interests, and the circumstances surrounding her actions raise serious concerns about whether such actions are politically motivated. So we have this phone call, right? Public phone call, and he wants to know if her actions are politically motivated. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
I think it's just more simping for Trump. That's all. Look, this is another guy. He's a I need a pardon guy. He's I'm not gonna agree to a subpoena that is requesting me to testify.
You remember that, right?
You know, this is a man who's on the Judiciary Committee, right? And he himself
He's the head of it.
Is flagrantly violating a subpoena by the body that he works for. Right. You know, so these people, again, I know it seems like today's theme is law and order, but it's not. It's save my ass. This is a guy who has, from the beginning, tried to help Donald Trump. I hate bringing him up and bringing him into anything more than he has to be, but this guy is linked to Donald Trump. He's linked to January 6th. He's linked to all of these attempts by Trump to take over the government. And what is he doing now? They're not even hiding it anymore. That letter doesn't actually tell you anything. He doesn't mention anything. He's just saying, we want to make sure that politics. Okay, great. What law do you think was broken? What do you think? States aren't allowed and expected to work with the federal government when information is being passed between agencies, which is allowed, which, by the way, you would do in a second if you could find the slightest information on Hunter Biden's laptop in a state. You would make sure that you on the committee would take that evidence. So you don't care about what is or isn't legal. You care about what's going to put your ass in the fire and put your face in a mugshot.
And what you can possibly find that'll make you look good or your guy look good, or make your enemy or your foe look bad.
Or what they could twist to use that way. Because that's all this is.
We're gonna have to put up with this shit for another year until the next election. We're going to put up with this nonsense.
It's going to be longer than that, because we thought that things would end as of the 2022 election, and look, a year later we're still going through it. So it's going to be it may actually be forever in our lifetime. Look, we don't know.
We got the fever under control, but we are going to take a long time to cut out the infection. Okay, these people are still in government. We're still seeing indictment. For Georgia, that was one state. How many other states do we already know are investigating the Trump crime family, right? The criminal enterprise. These people are going to be talking until they are in jail, or the fear of them being in jail is removed by Trump being in office. They are going to hunker down, stay in the corner, and fight as viciously as they can to protect themselves from joining Trump in jail. That's all they care about.
And as much as they want to try to come up with all kinds of stories and allegations and conspiracies of fraud in Georgia, dead people, 5,000 dead people. Really? Where? How? 5,000 dead people. Yeah. The truth of the matter is that most of the Republicans that voted did not vote for a president. They voted for every other Republican office that was on the ballot, and they left the presidency field empty, and that is how he lost Georgia.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just hope he gets what he deserves. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of having to report on it. I'm tired of the hate. I'm tired of the anger.
In due time, we shall see. Thank you, gentlemen. Another weekend review in the books.
In the bag, baby.
We will be coming together later this week for some more sound offs to present to you guys out there. As we said, last week was a big week, and these were just a couple of topics that we had to pick and choose, which were the biggest ones to show to you guys. But last week, a lot did happen, right? And you all know what went on last week. I don't need to repeat it, but let's see what goes on this week. On a personal note, I would like to issue a happy birthday to one of my cousins. His birthday was this past Saturday, and I believe he turned 29. I hope I got that right. Happy birthday, Mello, and many, many more to come. Also, happy anniversary to these two folks. They celebrated their anniversary this past weekend as well. Happy anniversary to them. I love you guys. Okay, we have a lot coming up this week. Stay tuned for more sound offs that will be being posted during the week. And on Friday, we will have Lady D. She will be back in the studio live and direct, along with John B. And we will be going over part 2 of men who live off their girlfriends and or still live at home. Stay tuned for that. You don't want to miss that. It's hilarious if you've seen part 1. Okay, I wish everybody a great week. Hang in there if you're going through some tough times. My condolences, or the condolences from the Esteban Hour, to the families of the 3 African Americans who lost their lives at the Dollar Tree store over the weekend in Jacksonville, Florida. Our hearts go out to you. Okay, and with that, we will bid you a good day. If you had a goal that you've achieved or accomplished today, don't forget to say to yourself, this